Thank you for joining this edition of the Local 2202 Education Series. My name is Derek, and today we'll be discussing the basics and differences between the Railway Labor Act and the National Labor Relations Act. Here at 2202, all our companies that are here are covered by the Railway Labor Act. It's important to keep in mind as we go through this lesson. We have 5 main objectives today. To start, we will define the Railway Labor Act and the National Labor Relations Act. Then we will discuss what is similar and what is different. And finally, we'll leave off with a couple of key takeaways. All right, let's discuss the Railway Labor Act, or RLA for short. The RLA was enacted in 1926 and later expanded in 1936 for airline employees. The basis of this act is to encourage collective bargaining between the major commerce drivers in the USA, railroads, and airlines. Partly because airlines and railroads move both people and goods, they are deemed vital to the economy of the United States. Contracts governed by the RLA don't expire, instead they become amendable. This is to ensure the consistent flow of commerce. This also means that strikes, lockouts, and work slowdowns are extremely rare and require an exhaustive legal process before they can happen. Now let's take a quick look at the National Labor Relations Act, or NLRA. The National Labor Relations Act was enacted in 1935 and protects workers' rights to organize, engage in collective bargaining, and take action in most private sectors. With the NLRA, the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB, was created. This independent federal agency enforces laws under the NLRA and resolves complaints of unfair labor practices brought forth by companies or labor unions. The NLRA also outlines some of the practices that would be considered unfair. With a little bit of the background out of the way, let's now discuss some of the similarities between the two. Both the NLRA and the RLA encourage and protect the right to organize and be part of a labor union. They limit or prohibit certain activities that would interfere with these rights. They also both led to the creation of independent boards like the NLRB for the NLRA and the National Mediation Board for the RLA. Finally, both protect employees' rights and have paths to report unfair labor practices. Now, let's talk about some of the things that are different between the two. The RLA covers railroad and airline employees, while the NLRA is most other private sectors and companies. Contracts can expire under the NLRA, leading to work stoppages, while contracts under the RLA become amendable, allowing employees to continue working under the terms of the agreement while negotiations continue without disrupting the economy. Strikes, lockouts, and work stoppages can occur at the expiration of a contract under the NLRA or under other qualified circumstances. For contracts governed by the RLA, it takes a much longer legal process to get a work stoppage. Finally, forming a union under the NLRA requires that the majority of votes cast be in favor of the union. To form a union under the RLA, it requires a majority of all the employees to vote yes, not just votes cast. This is a significant difference as it requires a much more concerted organizing effort under the RLA. All right, so let's talk about our key takeaways. First, contracts under the RLA don't expire. They become amendable. This is the biggest takeaway and usually has the most misunderstanding. Second, the RLA was established to ensure the economy of the U.S. would not come to a halt if and when contracts expire and companies and unions negotiate. Third, forming a union under the RLA requires 50% plus 1 of all employees to vote yes. Fourth, unions established under both the NLRA and the RLA are there to give a voice to employees and ensure they are paid a fair wage for a day's work. Last but not least, unions help promote safe work environments and a path to report unfair labor practices. Union workplaces are safer and have less traumatic injuries than non-union workplaces. We had 5 objectives this session. I hope you feel more confident in each one: defining the Railway Labor Act, defining the National Labor Relations Act, looking at similarities and differences, and some key takeaways. Thank you for participating in this edition of the Local 2202 Education Series. If you have any questions, please reach out. My contact info is on the screen. Thank you.